Yeah, so this week's Parsha, you notice there are a few Parshas about Avram, from starting with Lech Lecha really, and then Lecha V'Yera, then one Parsha about Yitzchak, basically, which was Chayei Sarah, and now we have some Parshas here about.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
okay. Only ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, doesn't matter.
But you're also recording,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Is there any way for you to put my recording online before Shabbat? Because then people can have a benefit from it. After Shabbat, who wants to listen to the Parsha?
I have to ask Rabbi Katzman. Fix it already. I asked him.
Okay. Right. Anyway, and then we had two parshas, Lech Lecha and V'Yera was talking about Abraham. Then a parsha Chayei Sarah is basically talking all about Yitzchak, and then we have now the Yetzer is talking about Yaakov, and the Yishlach is also about Yaakov. Then the rest is about the Shvati, really. So it's interesting, never really. So in this parsha, we learn a few very interesting things here about Yaakov, and there are like a few very we call them illustrative things over here that begin. So it says Yetzer. It begins Yetzer Yaakov with Beersheva v'Yelech Harana. Yaakov left a city called Beersheva and he went to a city called Haran. Harana means to Haran. That's the simple meaning. And then he v'yifka b'makom v'yalen sham kiba hashemesh v'kach me'ebnei hamakom v'yasamer roshatav v'yashka b'makom ahu. So he goes there. He meets the place. It says, Chazal say that there was a miracle, and the place came to him, and he slept there, and he had a dream, and there was this dream about this ladder. Mutzav Artza Varosh Magia Shamayma, and its head was going up to all the way from, so it was standing in the ground, and its head was going up to heaven. And the Malachei Elohim Olim V'Yordimbo, and there were angels going up and down on the ladder. And it says that Hashem
Olim V'Yordimbo, yeah.
Olim V'Yordimbo.
Yeah, and down.
Up and down. Up and down.
And why? Because you should think of the opposite.
Yeah. Why would angels go up and then come down? Yeah. So, you want to say something about that?
The one meaning is that
the escorting angels.
Yes.
From Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz were switching.
Due to Rashi.
Yeah. That's one explanation. One is the angels are created by the person himself. Another explanation, if you want to hear another explanation, the Sfas Emes says, very interesting, is that this ladder actually represents the soul of a person. Okay, thank you.
Before Shabbos.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
This ladder represents the soul of a person. That a person he's in a physical body, so he's mutzav artza, he's in this world, but his soul is far-reaching. And what that means is it means that a person has tremendous power with his actions to reach tremendous heights, meaning it affects very high worlds because it goes all the way to Kisei HaKavod. It's right, and Hashem is nitzav, alav, right? In other words, the neshamas come from the Kisei HaKavod, and so a human being is like a huge ladder, especially a yid, because we have this connection. We have this. This is really the book, the Sefer Nefesh HaChaim. There's a famous book by Rav Chaim Volozhiner, when he talks about that. The whole book is about how much power a human being has with his actions, and how far-reaching, and especially a Jew. He says originally it was supposed to be all of mankind, but because mankind had failed so many times, the original role of man of having an effect on the upper worlds remained with Abram and his seed. And whoever wants to become Jewish can come and join and be part of it. But the original mission was every human being, all Adam was supposed to be like that. Okay, that the effects of his actions would affect not just this world, but also other spiritual worlds, and then come back into this world. And so we can through our actions, we can build and destroy the world. And things like speaking, not just directly. I'm not just talking like, pressing a button from an atom bomb or something like that. Okay, or we can destroy the world that way too, with our actions. But what I'm saying is, it could be done in a private room, and like the Sefer Nefesh Chaim says, is that a Jew with his bad thoughts in his heart can do more damage than Titus did when he went into the Holy of Holies with a prostitute and did terrible things there and brought an avodah zarah there and brought prostitution there. So a Jew with unclean thoughts is damaging the world more than he did, because all he did was affect this world, but a Jew is affecting all the worlds. So the Sefer Nefesh Chaim says that's what it means in the Torah when we call an Adam a Tselem Elokim. Because what does it mean to be in the image of God? What does it mean to be in the image of God? God doesn't have an image that we can be in his image. That's his question in this book, Sefer Nefesh Chaim. Very famous book. And what the Sfas Emes is saying over here is this metaphor of this ladder is this entire message of this book. This book, the Sefer Nefesh Chaim, this is what Yaakov was being shown with the ladder, this message. And he's saying a man is a Tselem Elokim because God made man in his image means, it doesn't mean a physical image. It means that there's something similar to man that is God-like. That's what it means. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that God has an image and something, but there's something similar to God, because we can build and create worlds because God gave us over that key with our actions.
What was it?
Huh?
And how can you?
So I'm telling you, the dimyon, the point of what we're similar to God about is that just like God builds and creates worlds, he gave mankind that ability with his actions, with his thoughts and his speech and everything that man does, right? That is as a key. Man was given that key. So man can destroy and build his world. God gave that over to us. He didn't have to. He could have just let the world be on some kind of autopilot and God will do everything. But God said, no, I want to let man decide his own fate. Of course, the Kodesh Baruch Hu is constantly hashkaching, controlling, and how it comes back down and everything like that. It's all in God's hands. But still, a lot is given over to us. Which direction we want the world to go in? Do we want the blessing to be in the world? Do we want to reach the goals?
Free will.
That's free will. But it's more than just free will. It's also, there's also, you can choose good and bad, but also that there are ramifications to our choices in the worlds, in the spiritual realms, and in what affects the world. In other words, what goes up and what comes back down. We are affecting the universe. It's a tremendous, when you know this, then it's like a tremendous power. And by being so, man is on one hand, he's way lower than the angels. Because he's his physical body. In his physical body, he's much below the angels. But on the other hand, an angel can't do those kind of things. He can't affect the world like man can. And therefore, man's soul is higher than the angels. That's what it means, olim biyordim bo. It means sometimes man, when he lives in his physical, when he's living a physical existence, then he's yored, and the angels are above him. But when he excels and he lives his spiritual potential, then man is ola and the angels are down. Depends on where man is holding on this ladder. Depending on how he uses this ladder to climb or fall, right? Which is man's existence, right? That's this, and this is why when Yaakov woke up from his dream, I mean, this was a tremendous dream. This was a tremendous vision that he was shown, and most people would have been very, very proud, mitga'eh, okay, right? But instead, Yaakov, and this is the sign of a real, true ish emet, is that when a person accomplishes a spiritual accomplishment, first of all, he's in very great danger of falling afterwards, because what the last, so to speak, knock of the Satan, it works both ways, by the way. When a person does something great, truly great, we're talking about a real spiritual accomplishment, writing a book, giving a tremendous lecture, like today. So I hope after today, after this tremendous lecture, I pass the test, okay? And I come out of here very humbled and very shaking with fear, instead of feeling, Johnny did a good job today. No. So I want to, but whenever a person does something, he deserves the Yasher Koyach, there's a point where the Yetzer Hara wants to ruin the whole thing and think, you're such a great guy. You're so amazing, And by doing that, you ruin the whole thing, because it brings you to Gaiva. Yeah. So the accomplishment of an ish emes, that he's really doing it be'emes, is that afterwards he has fear, and he says ma nora makom hazeh v'ani lo yadati, like he's humbled, he's in fear. That's the sign of a great ish emes. Okay, and in doing that, very often, very often when people do great things, instead of getting the standing ovation, I think we talked about it, instead of getting the great standing ovation, well-deserved, right? They get criticism. All they get is criticism, And that's actually God protecting that person. Because if not, he would become very, very arrogant. And so in order to protect the person, so let's just think of two great examples in the Chumash. We can even think of an example in this world, in our times, okay? For example, Avram Avinu does the Akedah. Tremendous, right? The Machelet, that the generations are eating from this, right? He took the Machelet. The Machelet is the knife, but it means also the feeder, because in the merit of the Akedah, we're all feeding off of the Akedah, the merit of the Akedah for generations to come. So that was the remes. He took the machelet, because we're all living because of this great this thing. So what did people say afterwards? Well, what happened after the Akedah? Sarah died. What a tremendous reward for bringing the Akedah. Sarah hears that Yitzhak is about to be, and she dies. So it's a real tragedy, after this great accomplishment, right? But what do people say? Look what you did. You caused the death of Sarah. He gets criticism for it. Instead of getting a standing ovation, you did this tremendous thing. People are saying, you crazy Mashugana. Look what you did. You killed your own wife. That's what people were talking. And then, how about Pinchas? Pinchas, the Kodesh Baruch Hu testifies, Ani natati lecha et brisi shalom. I gave you my he gives him his covenant of peace to prove that what he did was not an act of hate. It wasn't hate speech. It was an act of love. He loved Klal Yisrael. He didn't want to see the destruction of Klal Yisrael. This was bringing about the destruction of Klal Yisrael. This was a horrible thing. Wasn't a time to be a liberal. This was a time to take action. The Klal Yisrael was gonna be destroyed because of this. And sometimes you can't stay silent for such things. such atrocities. And when atrocities are happening, you have to speak up. But what did he get for it? God is saying, yeah, you did the right thing. You saved Kislev. If it wasn't for you, I would have wiped them out. I was about to wipe them out. That's what the Torah is saying. But that's not what the people said. The people said, you killed it. It's because you're a descendant of Yitro, who used to bring avodah zarah, and you killed a prince of Israel. Like, who do you think you are? You're a murderer. They gave him they didn't give him credit. They were very, very angry at him. So that's very often Hashem does that on purpose to protect the person from becoming a Baal Gaiva, and that would ruin his whole schar. So his schar is protected. So his reward is protected. And on the other extreme, so that's one tactic of the Yetzer Hara. On the other extreme, sometimes it goes the other way. When a person fails and a person does a sin, so the Yetzer comes to him the other way. There's no danger of becoming a Baal Gaiva, but there's a danger of going into despair. So first the Yetzer Hara comes to the person and says, just do it. It's nothing. It's really a big nothing burger, And so what? Everybody's doing it. It's not a big deal. You can always do tshuva. And then when the person does it, so then he feels guilty. Like, what did I do that for? What did I get from that? It's nothing. It really was a nothing burger. It was a nothing burger, and it's all over, and it's nothing. And now I just gave up my whole olam haba for a big nothing. And then the person goes into despair.
I have to go to the hairdresser.
Oh,
There's a message.
oh, that's important.
Yes.
And so a person goes into despair, right? So what does the Yetzer says? The Yetzer says, it's so bad what you did, you'll never be able to do tshuva. Right? Despair. It's basically telling him to despair. This is just the opposite. When someone does something great, the Yetzer Hara wants to destroy it by saying, you're tremendous, you're awesome, you're this. The person gets tremendously arrogant and destroys the whole thing. It's Yetzer schar b'efseida. And then when a person does something terrible, the Yetzer Hara comes and says, you're really terrible, you'll never be able to do tshuva. So it's just the opposite. So Yetzer Hara is very, very, very tricky. And that's what this ladder is all about how to grow spiritually. Then we have the story where he finally makes it to Haran, and he comes to the well. He comes to the well. You see a lot of things happening with rocks over here in this portion. So here he comes to the well. V'yisa Yaakov ragla, and Yaakov he lifted up his feet. He went. He gets promises from Hashem. Hashem is going to protect him. He makes a neder to Hashem after taking these 12 rocks, putting around his head, and they're all becoming one. He makes that into a like a matzeva, into like an altar, and he pours oil over it. He makes it like a dedication that this is going to be the founding stone of the Beis Elokim. And he says, I'm going to give a tenth to Hashem, and Hashem, he gets a promise that, and he asks that Hashem protect him and at least he should have the bare minimum of lechem lechol beged lubosh. Then he comes and he goes to the land of Bnei Kedem, and it says, and he sees v'yar v'hinei be'er b'sadeh, v'hinei sham shlosha edrei tzon, and he sees that there are 3 flocks of, shepherds with three flocks of sheep, and they're crouching over this well, and they're trying to feed their sheep. But the problem is there's this huge stone on the mouth of the well. But they get together. They need all of them to get together in order to reveal the stone. And by getting together, the flocks, they're able to teamwork, remove this huge stone, but then they replace the stone. The stone goes back in its place, and Yaakov shows up and he says, "My brothers, where are you?" And they say, "We're from Haran." So he knows he's kind of reached his destination because he was going to Haran. He says, "Do you know Lavan ben Nachor?" He says, "We know." Here's Rachel, his daughter. And he says, "We can't do nothing until we all come together." He says, go and graze your son. It's not the end of the day. He said, they say we can't because we have to drink, irrigate our we have to give them to drink, and we can't until we're all together and we can remove the stone. And then all of a sudden Rachel shows up, and when Yaakov sees when Yaakov sees Rachel, Bat Lavan Achimo, that son Lavan Achimo, Vigash Yaakov just goes ahead. He goes right to the stone, and like Superman, Yagel to Evan Yalpi Be'er, Yeshkachel son Lavan Achimo. So what is this?
Is bovennatuurlijk or this is normal?
Is this
strength?
normal? And what is the Torah trying to teach us with all this? And was this normal strength, or was he just showing off? And
Only
when there's a beautiful woman and a man, all of a sudden, all that's it's kind of sounds like that, right?
Yeah.
So, and it says like all of a sudden he has like super strength for Rachel, and so what's the Torah trying to teach us over here with this whole story with the bear? So, actually, it's very, very deep. And there are a lot of allusions here. I mean, the Meforshim really talk a lot about the depth of this, and we're going to talk about some of the allusions here. And what I want to show is that I'm going to start with the Sfas Emes, who actually, in the Sfas Emes, he actually connects one theme idea with all of the things in the Parsha up to this point. Okay, that it's all one idea. The idea of Yaakov leaving Beersheba and going to Haran, with the whole idea of the Sulam, the message of the ladder, and Yaakov, the shepherds trying to take off the stone, and Yaakov, who's
didn't want to wait.
Hmm?
He didn't want to wait to all the shepherds are together.
Yeah, he doesn't want to wait, but it's superhuman strength. What is this trying to tell us here? Okay, where is this superhuman strength come from?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it normally, or is it only one time? Because
so we're going to see that this is the way of Yaakov himself. By the way, there's a famous kuntris about how to learn Chumash and how to teach Chumash, of Aaron Cutler, and he discusses about this parsha about Yaakov kissing Rachel before he sees her, and he explains it like Rachel to Yaakov was like seeing the mother of Christ. It was like Mama's like seeing a Sefer Torah. Mama's no different. Yaakov was the holiest of men. That's how you have to know how to explain the parshas of the Torah. Okay, so anyway, let's read a little bit here from the Sfas Emes here, and we'll get into it, and I'll add some things from other places and so on and so forth. So he says like this: the beginning of the parsha was Yetzer Yaakov Beersheba v'yelech Haran, and Yaakov left Beersheba and he went to Haran. Now he brings a verse from Tehillim. The verse says, Ashrei Adam Ozlo Bach. There's a pasuk, happy is the man, Ozlo Bach. I think we sing this very much in Simchat Torah. Ashrei Adam Ozlo Bach, Ozlo Bach. Ozlo Bach is a real Simchat Torah song. Oz lo bach, who his strength is in you. Oz, Tenu Oz Elokim, right? Dirshu Hashem v'uzo. Uzo is his strength. The Uz usually refers to Torah. Boaz, Bo-Oz. In Boaz, there was the strength of Torah. Bo-Oz, Oz, with an ayin. So, as, right. So happy is the man, Oz lo bach, Mesilas bilvavam. The verse goes on to says, who makes paths in their hearts. So he wants to explain. He's going to explain everything. The dream with the ladder, the dream with the ladder. So he says like this: in the vision of the dream of the ladder, olim v'yordim, they're going up and they're coming down. He wants to say olim v'yordim is a bechina of the Yetzer das. He wants to say over here the whole idea, like we said, free choice. Is man going to follow his body? Is he going to follow his neshama? Is he going to go ascend the ladder? Is he going to descend the ladder? That depends if the angels are going to be on top of him, below him. What is man doing with his free choice, like we said before? That's a function of man eating from the Yetzer das, because the Yetzer das really creates the confusion where it becomes a choice. When man is clear, it's quite clear, there's very little free choice because things are very, very clear. The confusion comes with the Yetzer das, and the choices become much more real. To choose evil, to choose good. However, Yaakov, he represents Oz lo bach. Yaakov is Torah. So Yaakov is holding on to the Yetzer Chaim. That's the tree of life. That's what it means. Oz lo bach. Bach is 22. His strength is in the 22 letters that the Torah is written with. And Yaakov, he's clinging to the Yetzer Chaim. He's clinging to the tree of life. That's the Torah. And Mesilas Livavam, the Mesilut Bilvavam, that's the idea of the ladder. The ladder, you can go up, you can go down. The ladder is the two hearts. The two hearts, the good heart and the bad heart, right? The person in his heart has a Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Ra. That's the Yetzer Das Tov Ra. So that's why Yesh Aliyah v'Yirida. It's very hard for a person to always live with the Kedusha all the time because we are physical. So we're always fluctuating between going up and going down all the time. We're going up and down this ladder all the time in our life because sometimes we're a little bit more physical, sometimes a little bit more spiritual. Sometimes we show up at a shir. Sometimes we don't. We go to other things. And so that's the going up and down. It's very hard to have the kedusha in this world fixed, like it's all the time. That's what it says. It says by Adam Arishon that he heard God walking in the garden after he ate from the Eitz of Das. He heard God walking in the garden. Like, and the Midrash says God was kind of jumping around over there. He was like fluttering around, meaning God was just kind of hovering in and out. He was walking around, but he wasn't fixed in the garden anymore. Once man sinned in the Eitz of Das, then God is not fixed anymore. He's not in a fixed state anymore because man is not in a fixed state, because man is constantly fluctuating now that he ate from the Eitz of Das. But by Yaakov, who's Bechinas Yetzer Chaim, he has Torah, he can bring the Shechina in a fixed way. He can bring it here all the time, right? Yaakov is Bechinas Yetzer Chaim. And therefore it says, what does it say here in the vision of the ladder? Hashem is standing on it. It's not like when, by Adam Arishon, when he ate from the Eitz of Das, that Hashem was just walking around in the garden. He was like in and out of the garden, like walking around, visiting a little bit, but, still walking, but not fixed. No, in the vision of the ladder over here with Yaakov, it's Hashem nitzav alav, Hashem is standing on it. That's the idea of Titan Emes Yaakov, because Yaakov was an Ish Emes. And so therefore he could have the Shechina, because he had Torah, he was an Ish Emes, he could have the Shechina all the time, b'kfiyas, at all times. So he's very different than God is just strolling around, jumping around in the garden. No. Here, God is here to stay. And that's the whole idea over here. Also, what the Torah is telling us over here by the ber b'sadeh, the well in the field. That what? Like the pasuk says, v'galalu ve'shivu, by the Edrei Tzon, which are people that are not on the level of Yaakov, they're the Edrei Tzon. They're not totally anashim ishemet. They're not clinging onto the Eitz HaChaim like Yaakov. By them, yeah, there are times when they grow, and there are times when they are not growing. So they can only occasionally get together. And those times are, when we come for a minyan, we get together and we do things as a tzibor, right? Which is very important, right? To bring the Shekhinah. But it's not like a fixed all the time. Yaakov Avinu was like, he got the Shekhinah all the time. Hashem nitzav alav. The Shekhinah is fixed there, right? But they can only come together and remove temporarily the stone on the well. The well represents the Shefa Eloki that comes in the world, God's influence in the world. And the Even HaGadol is the Yetzer Hara. It's this big stone. That's the Yetzer Hara. And sometimes we can get together and we can overcome our Yetzer Hara, especially as a tzibor, and we can come together and we can reveal the waters of the thing. But then it goes back. Like it's not b'kfiyas. It's Hashem is mitalech began. Because we're still under the influence of the Eitz Hadas, Tov Ra. And it's Olim Vayordim Bo. We're going up and we're going down, and sometimes they're above us, sometimes we're above them. But but by Yaakov, it was b'kfiyas. And so the Shlosh Edrei Tzon are Bechinas Adamu Behema. It's these flocks and their sheep. But 10 son marisi, Gimel Edrei Tzon hu Bechinas. He wants to say the Gimel Edrei Tzon are the three parts of the soul, the nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama. Those are the Gimel Edrei Tzon. But these three they're still connected to the body through the nefesh. The nefesh is connected to the ruach, and the ruach is connected to the neshama, and the nefesh is very connected to the physical body. So it's still it's got some behemoths. So it's not b'kfiyas. However, on Shabbat, we get a neshama yetera. We get an extra neshama on Shabbat. And that's the bechina of Yaakov. Yaakov is bechina Shabbat, the neshama yetera. And it's called the neshama yetera because it's completely from a different world. It has no connection with the body. And that's what it means. You're called Adam. Through the Torah, the Torah is an anhaga, completely not from this world. And that was the darga of Yaakov. So by Yaakov, he can remove the stone completely. Right? He was on a level where the stone doesn't come back. He could completely, because he's connected to the emes. He's like the neshama yetera. He's like the bechina of Shabbos. Yaakov Avinu echin derech gam b'zua madrega shetikan tfilas arvis. What Yaakov could do was, by him, he could go into the darkness and enlighten the darkness. That was what was unique about Yaakov. That's this idea. The ber b'sadeh is the idea. It used to be like this in that the Arizal used to go out to the field to say Lecha Dodi. Right? He used to go out to the field, and so it says during the weekday. It's during the weekday. It's like a midbar. It's like a desert. Then Shabbat, Erev Shabbat, it becomes like a sadeh. The world becomes like a sadeh. And Shabbat is the be'er b'sadeh. That there's a wellspring in the sadeh. That there's a shef eloki that comes in the world. Okay, so the be'er b'sadeh. Yeah. And Yaakov is able to access that and bring it even into the weekday. Yaakov can reveal the Shabbat and bring the Shabbat into the weekday. That's the idea over here, the Sfasima says this in other places, the idea over here, that the 3 Edrei Tzom are really like the 3 days of the week before Shabbat and 3 days of the week after Shabbat. And it says the 3 Edrei Tzom, they were rovets, they were crouching over the well. The well is Shabbat. The well is Shabbat, right? But they can't access the well. It's very difficult to access, to bring Shabbat into the week. Very hard. But they come together to try to do that, right? And that's by being rovets, waiting for Shabbat. And then it says, and afterwards they would reveal the stone and vigolalu at the Evan. I'm sorry, and the v'yashku at the tzon. That's the 3 days afterwards. So that's the 3 days before, as they're roasting, anticipating the well, and then afterwards, after the thing. This is the same idea. But Yaakov he's able to bring the Shabbat into the week. That's what it's actually saying in the beginning of the parsha. The Yetzer Yaakov mi Beersheva. Beersheva is the well of Sheva. That's Shabbat. The Yelech Harana is Motzi Shabbat, where we're going into the Haron Af. We're going into the crazy week ahead of us. The anger, the crazy bills that are going to be coming through the door. All the craziness that's going to go on during the next week, right? Vayelech Harana. So we need to connect the week to Shabbat. But Yaakov is the one to do that. Yaakov he's able to reveal the waters in a permanent way and bring the Shekhinah even into the darkness. That's why Yaakov fixed Tfilas Arvit. That's why Yaakov, they even want to say, the Galulu at the Evan is a lashon of Galut, he wants to say. It's a lashon of Galut. The Galulu at the Evan. The Heishiv at the thing. Because in Galus, we have our moments where we see Hashem here. We feel Hashem, but then the darkness comes again. But Yaakov is Viagel. Yaakov is a lashon of Geula. And he can reveal the stone in a permanent way. That when Yaakov is there, through Torah, we can actually make the Galus cease to exist. We were able to be, the only way to do it is being Titit Emes Yaakov. By being truly true people to our mission and actually being able to see the Be'er. You see, it says, and Hine Yaakov saw the well. Everybody saw the well. If the well was there, no, you don't see the well. Because what is the well? The well is seeing the God particle, seeing the spark of Hashem in everything that exists in life. That's called seeing the well. So first of all, to be able to reveal the stone from on the well, right? To be able to take off the stone from the well, one has to be able to see the well, to understand where it is, and want it, to want the Shefa Eloki. When a person's looking for the Shefa Eloki, then what happens? Then HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends us a Yaakov, and he goes on to say over here, it's like Rov Tzimalea is like the language in the pasuk by the mitzvah. When you see your friend and his donkey is crouching under a heavy weight, don't leave him there. Help him. Azov tazov imo. Help him unburden the donkey. That's Gullus. Gullus is we're being crushed under the weight of Gullus. But Hashem does not forsake us. And he sends us tzaddikim that can take the Evan and take away this tremendous weight and reveal that Hashem himself has not forsaken us in Gullus. Because there's a mitzvah in the Torah, if you see someone, a donkey crouching under his weight, you're not allowed to forsake him. So of course, God is not going to forsake us in our Gullus. And when we know that, then we can look for the well, but there's one thing, we have to look for the well. We have to want to see the well. Then we will be Zocha to have a Yaakov Avinu reveal it to us and be saved. And what's amazing is that what Yaakov showed was that the Evan itself is good. Yaakov showed that the Evan is a nothing. You see, part of the illusion of not being able to reveal the Evan is that it's very difficult. Yaakov showed it's easy. If you're an Ish Emes, even the Evan itself is good. the rabbis say, it's all from the Sfas Emes, the rabbis say that Yaakov came along and he took off the stone like someone takes the top off a bottle, off a barrel, like a barrel of wine. What is he trying? What is the Chazal trying to teach us like this? He says, well, what does a bottle cap do? It prevents anybody from just accessing, right? The kid won't spill the bottle over. It protects the wine, but it also, it prevents you from going into it, but it also protects the wine. So what Yaakov was showing was that the evil itself is there as actually to protect, so that not everybody can just come in and take the Shefa Eloki. It's a protection. You have to be able to fight the stone with stone. How do you fight stone with stone? Well, the Torah is also a stone. The Torah is the stones. You see everything over here in the Parsha is the beginning with stones. Yaakov, he went there and he put stones there, and he made this into a stone. And Yaakov is the man of truth. Yaakov is the man of Torah, and the letters of the Torah are called stones. Ozlo Bach. So with the stones of Torah, we can overcome the great big stone which is on our heart. But we have to realize is that the evil itself is actually there as a protection, that not everybody should have access to the Shefa Eloki. That you have to be on the level to have access to the Shefa Eloki. It's a protection like a bottle top. But once you are given access, by becoming an Ish Emes like Yaakov, then it's very simple to remove. And then paradoxically, the Mariv, the Galus itself, we see that it was all a vehicle to bring us to greatness. It all becomes just one big sulam to take us to Shemayim. That even all the hardships and all the darkness and everything like that was actually there to help us actually train us, to see to test us and to train us and to give us the opportunity to search Hashem. And we have the ability to change the darkness actually into light. All these parshas are really all connected, trying to teach us the same message. Yeah. Okay, we'll stop with this.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Dat was very
Now,
interesting.
I have to tell it my wife, but that is difficult.
Het is opgenomen. Is een live,
Well, there'll be a recording hopefully, and even before Shabbat, so that people can actually watch it before Shabbat and not have to
Thank you
wait
very
till
much, but it's
wait
very,
till
very
next year.
interesting. Maar vertel het maar na.
Ja, dat
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Baruch to you, Baruch to you.
Thank you very much.
Everybody be gesund, be happy, and
This is yours, I think.
And,
this cake.
and yeah, we
You
should
have
all
to
be
eat it.
open to getting rid of the stones in our life and having good revelations.
Okay, if you can.
Thank you very much.
I look to my diary, the 8th of February.
Oh, pas dan.
Is okay? Okay, write down.
It's very far.
Ja, nou iedereen krijgt zijn eigen beurt.
Oké. Oké, dankjewel Paul ook.
Oké, bye. Prettige
Fijne
dag.
dag. Ja, prettige dag. Jo.
Oeps. Eerst.
Laat me nog een keertje zien, alsjeblieft. Hallo? Bij de Dode Zee? Hallo, hallo? Hallo? Kan je mij horen? Hallo? Oh, jammer. Ah, nee. Hallo? Hallo, hallo? Hallo? Hallo?